Welcome to the Bearded Finisher Podcast, your one-stop show for all things finishing and coatings. Your host, Zach, and a variety of industry experts will guide you through the art of perfecting your finishing and business game. From seasoned pros to fresh faces, get ready for tips, tricks, and trends to elevate your knowledge and business to the next level.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. We've got an episode this week. We've got, again, Mr. Aaron Moore of Moore's Refinishing. Welcome back, Aaron. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me back.
Man, I am glad to have you back on the episode. You are our first returning guest.
Oh, that's awesome.
So congratulations.
Awesome. And still, like last time, like, no beard. So I said we fit well on the Bearded Finisher podcast.
Yeah, I see you've been growing it out.
Yep, cleaned it up this morning because I looked a little ragged. I go, nah, I can't do that. But I'm glad to be back and be the first repeat on the on, I guess, year 2 of the podcast.
Year 2, that's it, man. We're excited to be back for the second year. And that's why this episode I was excited about when I reached out to you. So what we're going to discuss today, and you and I have talked about it, but for our listeners out there, we are going to try to jam pack as much about intro into furniture refinishing into an hour as we can. If we get to the hour mark and we need to look at another episode, we can do that as like a part 2. But really what I want to do is like you and I talked about offline, is help these people, whether it's a side hustle, whether it's grow their business, they're just getting started and they need that knowledge of, equipment, first tools, most important tools, unimportant tools, marketing techniques, where they can find the furniture, where they can find the customers. So I think this is going to be a fun episode to dig into that stuff.
That's why I'm here. 21 years in the industry. I have been doing all the social media, Instagram, TikToks, Facebooks, all of those for the last 5 years. Pretty solid, minimum 1 post a day, trying to reach all of you who need help with refinishing. You guys have dictated, everything on my platforms, writing of the book, the communities, everything, the coaching. You guys dictated this. You guys told me what you wanted. We figured out how to build it and create it. And I said, now we're here. We're gonna spend at least an hour going through basic refinishing steps and some tips, tricks, and techniques.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So we'll just kick it off with the first section here. Sorry, guys, I'm staring at my phone for the people watching the video. The audio guys, you don't have any idea what's going on. So let's just kind of kick it off with the first segment here, which is what you need to know before you start finishing. And things like, what are common mistakes that newbies are going to make? What would be the top 2 that you've seen in your history?
I mean, I've done them all. I was taught by a refinisher who had, 30 plus years of experience. I was a newbie, just an average, high school wood shop woodworker. I was good. I was kind of the prodigy in that, and, jumped into refinishing. Didn't know what it was. So it's like I went through 5 or 6 years of every issue. I've had them all, and I said I want to kind of just go over a few of the, I guess, newbie mistakes. Is number 1 is the heavy sanding. I see, especially you go on HGTV and any of those shows, they say to start stripping the furniture down with 60 grit or 80 grit sandpaper. Number 1, you can do that at some point in your career, but I wouldn't start that as a newbie. You're going to sand right through veneer. You're going to take off profiles on trim or carvings or like routed edges. I've seen all of that, over the years as well. So what was the other one? That, not knowing what materials to use. We in the industry know of all the different type of chemicals and solvents and glues and finishes to use. Where when you're a new person, you just go to Home Depot or Lowe's. Like, you don't know what else is out there. Like I said, we prefer the Mohawk brand for all of our refinishing and touch ups. Like, nobody knows that. The homeowner doesn't understand what products are out there to make your job a lot easier, and we do. I said that's why we're here, to help out.
So we talk about furniture refinishing. There's different levels of that. Okay, so there's certain stuff that what are some key things that a new person, a beginner into this world can know whether it is going to be, um, if it can be fixed, if it can be like a new clear, if it can be toned, or if it needs to be what we'll call fully refinished. Maybe first we hit on, the term fully refinished. What does that entail versus just cleaning it up? What would that entail?
So basically, I mean, here at the shop, I'd say 95% of the furniture we strip down to raw wood. It's the best way to get to the point of you're not going to have any chemical reactions, adhesion issues, anything like that. I like to start from what I say is like virgin wood, brand spanking new, stripped down, it's raw. Then at that point, we could work up from there. In those other, let's say 5% of the time, we can clean up, like restore it, I guess you could call it, instead of fully refinish it. Um, Instances of that, you have to look for, is the finish cracking, which I kind of call alligator skin or crocodile skin. It'll be real rough, textured. If it has that, you really shouldn't go over that. Doesn't mean you can't, but if you spray over with any type of lacquer or any type of finish, it's going to stay. Like that crocodile skin is still going to stay on the surface. And then, on the other hand, of if it's loose or peeling, you could put the most amount of coats of lacquer on it, deliver it to a customer, and a week from now, they wipe it off and it peels off a section that was already loose underneath. Your finish was fine, but the substrate, the surface that was on there originally wasn't adhering to the wood anymore and just wiped right off. So that's why I said I've gone through all these issues. I've tried to restore pieces that we shouldn't have. And then it ends up biting me in the butt in the end, where I have to strip it down anyways and start from scratch. So I said, here in the shop, we try to do 95% full restorations. That's what we're known for here.
So what if you did, like my thinking is, when I was in and did refinishing, I didn't do a ton of furniture, but my rule of thumb was, if I refinished it the first time I got a piece of furniture, because older furniture, you're not always using the best coatings because you want to be able to redo them over time and you want to be able to fix it if you make a mistake. So when I would refinish something the first time, like you said, strip it down, refinish it, and then from then on, you knew what it was. So if the customer wanted to restore it or refresh it, that's kind of more of the path that you should probably go when you're doing antique furniture.
Yeah, and what was the saying that Jamie from Australia said? It was like leaving like a back door or something,
Yes.
so he could fix it again. Yes, like that podcast was one of my favorites to listen to, and so I said, hey Jamie, what's going on, buddy? But yeah, he said it perfectly. I've never thought about it that way, but we've restored furniture here multiple times. Like we've had somebody, I've been in business now 15 years on my own, and I've now done pieces that I did 10, 12, 13 years ago, because now they want to change the color again. And if you put on some heavy 2K or some polyurethane, it's going to be a bear to come back off, because ultimately somebody's going to want to refinish it again in the future, because what interior design tells you, they switch colors. Dark was back in, now light's back in. Like I said, we've seen it now. I said, I've been in the industry long enough that I have repeat customers doing the same exact piece we did 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes those cycles. Is there a point, in your opinion, you've done a lot of this, can you go too far with strippers?
Depending what kind of strippers, I guess that's the first problem.
Yeah.
But
I mean, what everyone's going to always push to is, everyone's always going to talk about methylene chloride stripper. I know there's some new stuff trying to get it back into the hands of normal everyday people. But the majority
to clear that up, I don't think it's ever going to be back in the hands of just your residential homeowner. I feel those days are gone. But businesses, as long as you have a business license, you could order from, we use Benco. That's who we use for our stripper. And they said everything they still have is methylene chloride based that we buy, but they also have a full range of non-MC materials. And they said, we're going to be, making content with those materials here soon. I said, so we could test them out. But, to get back to your question of, can you go too far? Yes, I guess you could say if you keep stripping and adding more of the chemicals to the surface, you could change the color of the wood a little bit. I've
Oh, that's
seen that.
good advice. Yeah.
Yep. Veneer is if you put it on too much or too heavily, or you leave it on too long, which on Instagram or YouTube, I see people leaving stripper on like Citrus Strip and any of the Home Depot based, products. And they'll say, oh, we left this on for 2 or 3 hours with, saran wrap over it. Like, oh my goodness, like our stripper that we use here is 5 minutes maximum on like your average finish that you leave it on and it scrapes right off. A lot of times it'll be 30 seconds to a minute, and you could get that coating off on some of the lighter coatings. But with the stripper, I said veneer, you definitely would want to be careful with. You could overstrip veneer in the sense that it will loosen the contact cement, adhering the veneer to the surface. That was a common issue back in the day. If people are old enough to remember dip tanks, a lot of stuff are still like a lot of powder coaters, metal shops, they still have dip tanks. With wood furniture, it would eat up glue. It stripped it off real quick. You may have to fully re-glue a chair or a veneer onto a surface because it may lift it up.
So you're saying better off would be a better way to go when you're first getting into this, if you're going to use the methylene chloride, or even if you're going to use something, it doesn't really matter what the stripper is, but small amounts of time. You don't need to leave it on there, read the directions, but just do it again. If it didn't get it all off, you got a layer off, put another layer of stripper on there, whatever that time frame the manufacturer recommends, and then take it off again. Leaving it on longer isn't necessarily going to solve the problem.
It's especially with a thicker coat or some of the people that are stripping off like multiple colors of paint, you're not going to get 5 layers of paint off instantly. It's not very likely. It happens. I mean, I just posted a video the other day on my Instagram with, stripping off a bunch of paint, but using methylene chloride stripper, it took off a good amount in a matter of, 5 to 10 minutes. It took off most of the paint. So I said, it just little pro tips too, like putting it in the sun, letting the UV hitting against it too. Different times of year, you can or can't do that. Middle of the summer, you don't want it sitting in that sun directly. It's just going to dry out the stripper. You just need the heat at that point. But like middle of winter, if it's cool, we're in Southern California, so it's never like
you don't
cold.
Know what cool
it's never
is.
Freezing. Yeah, it's never freezing. But I mean, if it's 50 degrees for the day, high of 55, we'll be out in the sun stripping furniture direct in the sun. No cover, no easy up. Because that sunlight, that UV light will help strip the furniture.
That's a good point.
Yeah, using that for your advantage is something that not a lot of people know. A lot of people are doing this in their garages or basements, and sometimes just natural sunlight is going to help you out too for getting that stripper to react. We have used some of the blue can at Home Depot. I forget the name of it, but the blue can stripper, even without the MC, still works. It does take longer.
Yeah, the methylene chloride Jasco or whatever that is.
Yes, but non-methylene.
Non-MC.
There's a Home Depot brand too. That's the blue can, whatever their brand is, like their internal brand. That one works. It does take longer to react. The smell is even more horrendous than anything with MC. So I said, just because it doesn't have MC doesn't mean that it's safe for you.
Yeah,
you still want to wear PPE.
Very good
you still
point.
want to, it has another chemical in it that's reacting to remove that lacquer. So I said, that's the biggest thing. You want to go eco-friendly. Like I said, Gary from Stripwell, his stripper works great. Like I said, for light finishes, it will not remove thick polyurethanes or varnishes. But I said, we've used it here on occasion. We've done videos and tested the product on different types of finish. And I said, if you want to be eco-friendly, there are options out there that still work. Like that's the biggest thing. I see people online using Citrus Strip, and somehow it works too.
I'll be the first to admit I've used Citrus Strip in the past on front doors when I had my company, and I think when I was getting out of it, the methylene chloride stuff was in like the first year or two, and that's when it all started to disappear.
Yeah,
when I
off the shelves.
Yeah, it disappeared off the shelves, and you couldn't get it, and it was harder to access. I used Citrus Strip a couple times to strip some old paint off some garage doors, exterior or something like that. And I mean, it got the job done. It did take a little longer, and then I was able to get a hold of a drum of methylene chloride, and I was good for a little bit.
But same thing. People don't know methylene chloride still evaporates. So like that's why here we use a lot of like stripper for furniture, but not enough that we want to buy 55 gallons of it. Because by the time we get to the bottom of that, that MC will start evaporating and it may be weak as hell down at the bottom.
I don't
Yeah,
even know
and it
if
may
we
take
ended
us a
up using
year.
it all. Yeah, I ended up having guys locally, painters, that were like, you couldn't get it at the paint store because they pulled it all off the shelves because they didn't want homeowners to buy it. So I had painters call me, Zach, you got any MC? I'm like, yeah, come on. You owe me lunch. I'll slide you a gallon.
Yep. I had a lot of those messages too, and we thought about doing that. I'm like, I don't know if it's worth that risk.
Felt
It's
like a
not
little bit
worth
of a drug
me.
dealer. It felt like you were doing something you weren't
That's
supposed to.
exactly
Like,
it. I
here you
go,
go.
I don't want somebody to be coming in, OSHA, AQMD, or what, any of those agencies. I go, yeah, just get your business license, order it from them directly. My paint store here, I'm lucky enough too, because I coordinated with Benco with my paint store, wood repair products. Now they have it shipped in here. Now I don't even have to pay for shipping anymore. So it's like now it's just down the street. I go and pick it up and we're good to go. So they said it's still available. There's a lot of rumors on Facebook groups and on the internet that MC is gone and the EPA banned it, and it's never been banned. They've been trying to heavily restrict it, but still want to use it for the homeowners. Or I said take it away from the homeowners, and so they were going to make it really difficult for us to purchase as well, business licenses, all of those things. But it's not anything we don't have. Like we have
Yeah,
all the
it's still
proper
around.
things. It's still around. And common misconception too about the MC. Yes, it is dangerous. It is bad for your health. Wear PPE, but it is one of the best products on the market to remove finish. The easiest, the quickest, and they don't make methylene chloride for stripper. They are buying byproducts from another. What do you want to call it, from another process somewhere else in the country. So they're just buying it and recycling it. So if they get rid of it, what are they going to use where are they going to do that with it? They're going to dispose of it. They're going to just burn it. I don't know. Like I said, so that's a common misconception that I kind of wanted to bring out here too.
I mean, I say this, and I'll probably get all kinds of crappy comments about this, but screw it. It's my show. I don't care.
It's the
Like,
internet.
it's the internet. Somebody's going to be trolling. No matter what you're doing, okay, this is my PSA. There's dangerous shit in everything, inhaling it. It doesn't matter if it's paint. It doesn't matter if it's fumes from a car. There's as many VOCs and gases rolling around outside as there are when you're painting, or whether you're using a polyurethane or an isocyanate. You can take air, measure the air quality everywhere. It sucks.
Yeah. Well, what do you think that new car smell is? When you get in a new car, it's the off gassing of all the plastics,
All the plastics.
glues.
Like,
Yeah.
you've just got to be smart. If you're using, it doesn't matter if you're painting, this is to anybody out there. It doesn't matter if you're painting, it doesn't matter if you're using a stripper, it doesn't matter if you're sanding. You've got to use your brain. You need good ventilation, and you don't want to inhale particles. You don't want to inhale dust into your lungs. It's just, I mean, is it going to kill you? Probably not. But
Not instantly,
but
but yeah,
it's
a
just,
lifetime of it maybe.
yeah, it's just not the smartest thing in the world. Just like it's not smart to go stand at the exhaust pipe of a diesel truck or any vehicle for that matter. It's just not the greatest idea in the world.
Yep, that's exactly. I mean, there is no greater smell than diesel trucks in the morning. I mean, there's no better smell than that. But you
I
don't want to
can't
be at the
disagree with
tailpipe.
that. Yeah, but you don't want to be stuck there just, yeah, baby.
Well, and what I had heard from the representatives over at Benco, the product that they were trying to now that they say can replace MC, it's got way more, I guess, science behind it, that it's really, really bad for you. Like I said, methylene chloride is the same way too. It's not good for you either. But the stuff that they say, oh, this is a replacement, it's not any better. So it's just like, so you're taking one chemical that they want to outlaw and put another one back in.
I mean, I'm bad habit of this, but getting chasing those squirrels. But to me, it's the same thing with you get into the low VOCs on the lagers. You're in California, you got to use 275 or less. Well, the Oxol, the science behind Oxol is not any safer than lager. There's probably just some congressman that owns a company that manufactures Oxol and got it on the list as this. I mean, it's just, you just got to be smart when you're using paint. That's
my
what it boils
take
down
with
to.
that too is that with the low VOCs here, we have to spray double the amount. Like I'd rather use, like I said, we'll use a gallon of lacquer. Well, guess what? We could have used half a gallon of lacquer on this product, on this project to get the same finish. Yes, it's higher VOCs, but now you're doing double the cans. So the aluminum that they have to produce for the can, the labeling,
It's a vicious cycle.
It is. It's all of it. It's just, they're just trying to regulate businesses a little bit more, and for maybe a small benefit in this way, but they don't look at it of the negative on the other end. Like I said, the production of more material, more chemicals are being produced to make the lacquer. So I said we could talk about that all day, but let's get back to some refinishing.
Well, let's jump over into, we've kind of gone over the newbie stuff, mistakes that can made, refinishing versus restoring. Let's get into the part, let's get into the nuts and bolts, probably what everyone wants to hear. Tools, products. What would be your recommendation? Let's say, could we do it in 5? Top 5 starter tools, and why? Could you do 5, or do you need, or less?
Let's do this part first. So I said I had thought of some ideas here. Was that refinishing is a lot of hand tools. You're not using big major power tools. That's builders. People who woodworkers building things. Restoration is hand tools, sanders, maybe a table saw or a chop saw when you're trying to rebuild something. So like I said, on the smaller side, yeah, hand tools are definitely number one. And you don't even have to go high end. When you're first starting out, like I've heard this 100 times of, oh, I can't afford this or I can't afford that. You could start with Harbor Freight tools. I wouldn't myself, but that's where you could start. A lot of it is about the techniques that we're going to go through in this episode to get you that finish. If I used Harbor Freight tools, we could still produce the same finish, just like you were saying about citrus strip. Once you know how to use a product, you can figure out and manipulate different products to do what you want it to, because you just know just your history, your time in the industry, what you're doing. But said tools wise, like I said, I like hand sanders, the finishing quarter sheet sanders. That's my preference here. A lot of people will argue with me. Leave that down in the comments below if you're an orbital sander kind of guy. That's what I've been doing for 20 years. I feel it's safer. And I said, we work on thin veneer. So that's why I prefer that is it's just safer long-term, less likely to sand through veneers and damage a piece. I said, you see the pieces we work on, they're expensive. Like I don't want to ruin a $30,000 table. I don't want to do that. So
that makes sense.
$30 table, maybe. That's why we practice on that first. So I said, we have that. Tools wise though, stripping brushes, like I said, there's certain brushes you should purchase that would be beneficial to you. I said, same thing, don't buy expensive things.
Yeah,
there are tips that that I have given that we're going to talk here. I give them in like the community, the book, all the things that we've done over the years that will make things last longer. Because I've gone through all the problems. Mm-hmm. I've had every issue. Because I will put that with an asterisk. Almost every issue in the book, like we've seen all of it, and we know what you can get away with. Like I said, hand tools, air compressors. I said that was the other thing. You don't need a massive air compressor. Our shop for a while, like we had our big one go out, had to have the motor rebuilt. It took us a while to put it back in and get set back up. We were operating our refinishing shop on a 27-gallon Husky from Home Depot, air compressor.
Yeah.
So it's like that 27, 30 gallons operates our full shop, spray booth, sanders, all of the things that we use on a regular basis.
Well, so I think the benefit of that is in today's world, you can do electric sanders. You don't need pneumatic sanders. You can do electric sprayers for what that's worth.
That's exactly
you don't necessarily need a compressor. You don't need to to mess with the air if you don't want to. There's just so many options. So, let's go into maybe if you can, like, what are as you in your age, because you've got to grow into what you're doing. What are the top 3 tools that you or Ivan in the shop are like, shit, where'd I set that down at, that you're going to use at least once a day?
A good set of chisels, definitely number one. Good set of chisels, multiple sizes, a 1/4 inch to 1 inch. Like, we don't need anything bigger than that. I would say the most invaluable thing, because we know when we lose these, and I buy multiple so we don't run out, are the putty knives that we buy from Wood Repair Products. They're a specialty, just what do you want to call it? They're for like burn in and like touch up applications. It's a curved, flexible knife, and that's how we apply epoxy in the fillers, and we use those to hold down veneer. If we have like a little loose spot, we'll hold it down with this putty knife, because, as I said, keep your hands away from that chemical reaction happening as well. If we're using like a super glue, that would probably be our most invaluable piece, because when they fall in the trash can, they fall on the ground or under a table and we can't find them, we are stressing. We don't know what we're going to do without that tool. So that would be our number one. The sanders, the 1/4 sheet sanders, would say that. And then just a gravity feed HVLP spray gun. I buy $200 spray guns. I do not need to buy a $1,000 paint gun. We have a $700 or $800 one, I forget what it costs, that we rarely use. It just sits there looking pretty. We bought it years ago. I never liked the way that it sprayed. And the one that we have right now is 13 years old. I haven't replaced it in 13 years. I bought a backup off of eBay, because they stopped producing this model. And then they said my local store gave me a deal to try one out. Another $189 spray gun, sprays wonderfully. Like I said, we spray a lot of our sealer with that. Still, I spray the top coats with the gun that I love. I said that's the one we do. It's just, like I said, but at the time it was $180 as well. Like, you don't need to spend top dollar.
Yeah, I mean, that just goes to show you that. I mean, furniture refinishing, when it comes to the tool set, you don't need to go spend thousands of dollars on tools. It's just unnecessary.
It's hands. Yeah, it's hands and knowledge. Knowledge is, I would say, the most important thing is knowing what to use in those instances where something went wrong. Oh, hey, the glue's not adhering here. Okay, what should we do? Like, those are the things that take a lot of trial and error, a lot of practice, and stuff that we have figured out now over 20 years of doing it.
So I know that we were talking, we've been chatting about this episode off and on for a couple weeks. And one of the questions I saw come up was, I think, it seemed like it might've been refinishers and even homeowners, like, and this is one that I don't even know. So I'm curious to what your answer is on, like, cause I've used wood glue before, but like, what is the best? Cause there's tons of wood glue out there. You go to any big box store or hardware store, you'll see 12 different kinds of wood glue, Gorilla Glue, Elmer's wood glue, the fancy wood glue, I call it, with the flat tip on there. But
yeah, you got epoxies.
Yeah, like, what's the best wood glue or an epoxy for just like a quick DIY repair? Like, what's going to be the go-to tool for you, or you would recommend to someone starting out if they've got to do a small repair of a veneer or anything that's going to require wood glue? Piece of trim popped off.
That's a lot of it. It depends. Like, it's my favorite term here. Every project will be a little bit different. Let's just go with a different examples in this way. A chair. So let's just say a dining chair comes in, leg is loose, maybe the dowels are broken. If we could pop that chair leg off, which we do, if the dowels are snapped, we'll take them off, re-drill the dowels, reapply. For this, you want to use just your standard wood glue. For 15 years, 20 years almost now, I had used Type Bond. I used the Type Bond red bottle, great product, loved it. Then out of the woodworks comes this new company called Boss Dog Glue. Nick over there, he's the small business owner who created this. He sent me a few bottles, samples. I tried it out. I switched to Boss Dog Glue because of the reasons that His glue, he has multiple colors. So he has a crystal clear, and I mean, it dries crystal clear. So there'll be an instance for that. He has ones that dry in like a light tan, and then he created one that dries like in a walnut brown. So depending on what wood you're working with, you may want to use a different glue.
Is
Beautiful.
genius.
I said, love that. So I said, we would use that kind of glue, and said, Type Bond's awesome. I'm not dogging on Type Bond. We still have I think half of a gallon still here. We will use it up. Like, we love the stuff. So I said, if you don't have Boss Dog, you don't want to order it online, you could use those. So that kind of glue you'd want to use for breaks, like repairs, stuff that you could disassemble. Loose joints, say, I just posted a video inside my community where we had some teak chairs, and it had the smallest of wiggle to one of the joints on like the seat back. I can't break the chair to put like a Type Bond or a Boss Dog inside. So we use a wood super glue, CA glue, cyanoacrylate, I think it is, something along those lines. Big word. But that will run down and get and saturate into the pores, down into the crack, and backfill anything to basically stop any wiggle. Wiggles, basically those light joints like that you want to use super glue for, are because those are spots that are going to compound and get worse over time, leading to a snapped chair, maybe a chair back, someone leans in it wrong. The wood is always trying to find its weakest point to snap. So if you take it away using the super glue, that will help out. There's a lot of tips with using that we go over in some videos. I said that would be ideal for that. And to answer your question with the veneer, that just depends. If you have a whole corner lifted up, get a syringe with just your Type Bond or your Boss Dog, get it in there, clamp it down with a piece of wood, and get it nice and flat. Let that dry for a couple hours. Good to go. Now, if it's not lifted up and you have some of these little micro bubbles, you may have to take a small razor blade, cut down, open with the pores. Obviously, always try to cut with the grain, and basically the thin super glue will run down and find any nook and cranny to fill. You clean it, you press it down with that same wood block or that putty knife that I was talking about, activate it with the spray activator, and there you go. You've just fixed a piece of veneer. So I said, everything has its own task. Each glue is there. There's epoxies and other types that we use, but they're rare on rare occasion that we use that type of glue. It's not necessary.
Yeah. So it sounds like the big ones to look at are, and the CA glue, I was going to follow up with that question, but you just answered it. The CA glue, and I've just, it is glue with activator, is like, it's a 2-part product that looks like a super glue. It's liquidy, it's very runny, and then it comes with, you buy it in association with what looks like just an aerosol can.
Correct.
And
From
then
Mohawk,
you spray the aerosol can after you've poured the glue, and it instantly sets the glue.
Yeah, within seconds. And then sort of a pro tip there is there is a chemical reaction happening with that. You're going to hear it. You're going to feel it. For one, if your fingers are on it, it'll burn you. And two, you're going to see a white smoke come up. It's kind of funny. You watch any of the CSIs or any of those shows, when they put fingertip things in like that box and it's that smoke, it's the CA. It's the same kind of thing. I looked it up a long time ago because that glue, whatever that fumes is, will adhere to things. Meaning if that gets up in your eyes, you're going to feel it. You're going to tear up and basically burn your eyes slightly. So it's like, so
get out of the way.
I was saying, like you're saying earlier, everything has a negative to it. Like, yes, it's a great product, but it has chemicals. So you need to know what to do in these situations. Either you don't want to get burned, or you don't want to get, like I said, a chemical reaction in your eye or, anywhere else on your skin.
Yeah,
so
that's a good one. We
did a video in our, I believe in our free community on school that we showed it. We put it on a black piece of board, like plastic. We poured it on, activated it. You could see the right reaction and show you what it does. Because most people don't understand until it happens to them, and then they glue their finger to a piece of wood or any of those fun things. So,
dang. Well, yeah, I mean, that's nuts. I mean, for those of you, and I'm going to put it down in the show notes, but Aaron has got a school community, SKOOL, for those of you that aren't familiar with school. It's a website you can log on to, and we'll have the link down in the show notes here that you can go log on. He's got a free side and then he's got a pay side where you get a little more in-depth knowledge, more videos that dig into all this. So if you are into to me, it doesn't matter. You could be new, you could be a year in, you could be 5 years in. You never know what kind of information you're going to get access to. And he has, like I said, free side and a paid side. Go check it out. Now, one thing that I used to always get in the painting world, and I'm curious if it's any different in the finishing world, is in the cabinet finishing world or wood finishing world on the kitchen side, what do I clean my cabinets with? So what are you recommending people clean? Obviously we're going to tell them try not to do anything for, roughly 30 days because you want to get a full cure on whatever it is that you're spraying. But post that 30-day full cure, what's your number one recommendation for cleaning furniture?
So it said furniture stuff. We'll go back to it depends. So when we finish a job, we're on a delivery. Everyone looks at us very weird, but we have this bright red bottle that's from Meguiar's called Quick Detailer. I'll tell the story here real quick. That they basically you spray it on a rag, you wipe it off. We spray flat sheen on about 90% of our furniture. So if you start adding oils or polishes, it's going to take your flat sheen and start brightening it up, which it's what happens over time naturally. As you wipe it off, it starts polishing it. You just don't want it to happen on day one or day two, like when you're delivering it to the customer. So this bottle was what we used in the piano refinishing world before a customer showed up we cleaned the pianos. We used auto body paint. We did high gloss mirror finishes on Steinway pianos, Yamaha. You know the finish.
The piano black.
Yep, exactly. So that's what I was specialized in early on. That's what we started at the guy who trained me. And they basically, one day we spilled it. We had another jar that we would sell to homeowners called furniture cleaner, little 8-ounce bottle. And it was like $16. Like it was like expensive. So when I opened my shop, I go, I don't want to do that. I'm not a salesman to make $4 off of like a cleaner. I go, you could just buy this online, go to AutoZone, whatever it is. But we spilled it. I was going back. We spilled it. Same color, same odor, did the same exact job as one another. I go, it may not have been 100% the same product, but it was damn near close enough. And that was 16 years ago that I switched. That's all we use. We show up to a customer's home. We detail it because blankets have a little bit of dust on them from time to time, the lint. We'll do a wipe down on everything, clean up the dust, show the customers, and they're always just like, wow, I never knew that. You could use that on any type of furniture. So you could use that on finished lacquers. We wipe glass off with it if we deliver something with some glass doors.
It sounds
wipe off some fingerprints.
A lot like I used to use a product from Circa over in Italy when I was using their coatings a lot. They sent me some cleaner, and it was like a detailer cleaner. It's a very non-film form building cleaner. It evaporated, but it didn't leave anything greasy. It didn't adjust the sheen. And same as you, like I was like, just send me a case of it. And then anytime I went to a job site, I just took a bottle because we cleaned all the cabinets, and then I just left the bottle. Like,
yeah, that's definitely one way to do it too. I had thought about that as well. Yeah, it's here's a $4 bottle. Here's where to buy it again.
Yeah,
so
and it wasn't a very big bottle that they made him in over there in Italy, but yeah, it was similar to that. So I mean, that's good to know. I mean, and if you don't have that, I tell people I would say, don't use anything with harsh chemicals. Don't use any type of home furniture polish. Don't use any type of, ammonia-based cleaners. Just if you don't have something like a furniture cleaner that leaves stuff clean, like my rule of thumb was just get a bucket of warm soapy water and a microfiber towel and just wipe it off.
Yeah, you can't do that. So it's to just finish that part of the topic off is we tell customers once a year. You probably don't have to do it for about 18 months. The finish is still so fresh, but once a year, just a straight up lemon oil, not lemon polish, not pledge, but just, Old English or Mohawk. That's who we buy. Like they have just lemon oil. It may say lemon oil polish. That's okay. Like you just don't want to get something like pledge or any of those. And we just tell people to hydrate it, wipe it on, let it sit for 5 minutes, and take 2 to 3 rags after you're done, dry it with one, dry it with a second. If you're still getting any residue off, dry it with a third. And what that does, think of lacquer as being plastic, because that's really what you're doing. You're putting a plastic coating over the wood to protect it. If you leave plastic outside in the sun, it dries out, cracks, gets brittle, causing those alligator skin textures that I was telling you about. If you were to keep that plastic indoors, it would stay flexible, malleable, and you could use these containers for years. That's what I'm thinking about, plastic containers. Lacquer is the same way. If you keep it fed and keep it hydrated, that plastic finish wrapping the wood is going to stay flexible, malleable for many more years to come, instead of drying out, because the wood ultimately is still trying to pull in moisture. Mm-hmm. So it's like a lot of people, when they ask this question, they think, oh, are we have to lemon oil it to hydrate the wood? I go, no, you're not even going to get near the wood, because we put a good, a protective film over it. So you're not oiling it for the wood's sake. You're oiling it for the coating's sake, to keep it as hydrated as possible.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I mean, and that can change but again, listeners out there, we don't need the hate comments about polyurethane and oil in it. We're talking about furniture refinishing.
And I'll just do real quick. I know that we have, I wrote down this one too. So it's like the other one was the misconception of Howard's Restore Finish. That was the biggest one there was, okay. I see so many people talking about it, like, don't use it. Well, I don't recommend using it if you think that it's going to fix the problem and then you go to restore it. You will have issues. We have seen it. People have Restore Finished a product, brought it to me to refinish, and then we have like seepage issues with different types of oils or chemicals, I believe.
Doesn't that Restore Finish have silicone in it?
I was just going to say that. Yep, it has that in it. So, which you do that and you don't refinish it again or touch it for another 15 years, it's not going to be an issue. But we get a lot of people who attempt a project, give up, come here, and then they said, even when you strip it, whatever is left in there, the silica or whatever it is causing issues. So there's that product there. Mohawk has a colored oil called Scratch Off. That's what we use here if we're just going to hydrate something and change it. They have one for dark woods, one for light woods. That's what we would recommend using as a hydrating oil, I guess you could say. And if you want to add a little bit of color, like I said, you could put a darker color on. It'll fix any little dark, light chips you see. That'll work really well if you're just trying to salvage a piece. Let's say a 100-year-old antique. It just looks worn out and dry, but you love the patina. Just hydrate it. Give it a little bit of oil. It's thirsty, and it's going to change the look of the piece. We have so many customers who come in with old oak, from like the 20s or 30s, dried out, and it looks like a brand new piece when it leaves, just with a little bit of hydration.
Since we're on that subject, I'm going to ask you, because it gets asked a lot, what's your feelings on tung oil?
Personally, we have not used it here in my shop alone. I have not used it. We had no reason to use it at the piano shop as well. So I'm not, I would say, the ideal person to say pro or con.
Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. I mean, just the fact that you're restoring furniture, it doesn't matter if it's, because most of the furniture you're restoring is going to be, like this table. It's going to be wood. It's going to have a lacquer finish, or it might have an oil rubbed finish if it's, who knows. But, it's good to let the people out there know that are just getting into this, that tung oil isn't the end all be all. You got Aaron of 20 years who's saying he's never used tung oil. Yeah. So it's not that important that you go clean everything or hydrate it with tung oil. There's other options out there.
Yeah. And I know that the oils have changed over the years. Like the Danish teak oil is not the same that it was, a handful of years ago.
The old Danish oil. There's a lot of guys that still use that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it works for them. Which is great. I tell people that with my coaching, my teaching, all of the side of this, online world is, this is not the only way to refinish furniture. This is just my way, and it works for me. I come in, day out. We don't have issues. We know what to expect at the end of the day. We don't leave at the end of the day pulling our hair out and wondering, why is it not drying, or what are these fish eyes, happening? Like, why is this happening? I go, we've worked through all those problems. So I've created a system in my own shop that we don't have to do with that anymore.
That's a good idea. So I'm going to switch it up. I don't want to throw you off any, but I think what we're going to have to do, so because I know we're honing in here, but we're going to take a quick break, and then after we come back from the break, we're going to talk about pricing, selling, and side hustle. We're going to kind of skip to that part, and then I think we're going to do a second session. And in that second session, we get into the repair techniques, matching, staining, how to do some of this stuff, techniques that you've used, because I have a feeling that those two are going to take those two sections between matching finishes and repair techniques and common fixes. We probably got an hour and a half in that one.
Oh, easily.
Yeah,
Definitely. I said, I'm good with that. I always love hopping on the podcast with you. So whenever we want to do that, I'm good.
Awesome. Well, let's take a quick break. Let's make sure our drinks are refreshed, and we'll be right back. And when we get back, we're going to jump into the pricing section.
Do you want your brand in front of the people who actually move product? Painters, finishers, and manufacturers? The Bearded Finisher podcast has pulled in over 75,000 downloads and reaches across the entire finishing supply chain, from job site to manufacturing. From single episode sponsorships to social media promotion, we offer flexible options that get your brand noticed. Real reach, real results. Visit thebeardedfinisher.com and let's get your brand front and center. Are you a residential painter buried in admin, scheduling chaos, or constant material delays? Meet mypaintbuckets.com, the first dedicated project management platform built by painters for painters. It delivers turnkey workflows to simplify your day, from project sharing and material ordering to scheduling and EPO capture, so you can focus on scaling your crew and maintaining the reputation you've worked so hard to build. And if you're a supplier, painters are evolving faster, smarter, and more efficient than ever. The suppliers who thrive over the next 10 years will be the ones who build real trust. That's why we created free tools to help you keep up and stay relevant. Head to mypaintbuckets.com and see why the next generation of painters isn't looking back.
All right, we are back now. Like we said before, let's jump into the pricing. So we'll get that part figured out, and then we'll kick it off with your tips. Like let's kick it off on how to price work. How you're going to price a table versus a hutch versus a dining room table or an end table. Like, what are some tips that you've used? I know there's going to be in the what are you doing, but let's assume it's a full refinish. We're going to strip it down and we're going to build it back up. How are you going to price that? How would you recommend guys look at that?
First thing you want to do is that you're in this for making money. You're not in this as a hobby.
Amen.
You're not doing this to just cover cost and maybe you make a few pennies. Like, you're in this to make money as a refinisher. We have overhead. I mean, I think, here we have $4,000 a month we have to make in, rent, utilities, insurance, all those things. So, like, we have to make money, and then you start adding employees on top, and now you're keeping, them and their families fed too. So it's like, you're here to make money. That's number one. I worked for free for very long time, not realizing what we're going to talk about right now is that I wasn't charging properly. And a lot of refinishers don't understand that. Like, they just say, all right, we'll just do this table for $500. I did it. I know a lot of people that are still doing that to this day. And I want them to make money for their time. Like, we are in a niche in this industry that not a lot of people do this, especially to the level that we do. There's not a lot of us. And you have a little bit of that supply and demand where, as long as you do great work, people will be, they'll be coming back. New people will find you, bigger people will find you. So that's number one, is like, you're in it to make money. So what we did at the shop many years ago, my father-in-law kind of whipped me into shape. He goes, if you're going to marry my daughter, like, we got to whip you into shape and make your business work, like, profitable. Sounds very similar to your father-in-law from all the stories you talk about. Yes. So, yeah. So, but, he came down and he goes, okay, what does it cost to do this? And I don't know, okay, you go ask the question again, how many hours? I'm like, I don't know. I just do the work. all right, well, now we got to start from scratch. So we created a checklist of, I would basically take it on a quote with me. I'd write down, okay, it's going to be 3 hours to strip it, 1 hour to sand it. Just, okay, it's got this amount of repairs. We'll do 2. But then on the opposite side of that, it had actual hours. So then when you're in the shop, I mean, and this, you should do this if you're new and you think you're not making enough money, do this for a year or two. Like, be religious with it. Just be religious with it. Do it. It's going to take a few extra minutes every day. Not that big of a deal. But what you want to do is that you're going to keep track of your hours and realize, oh crap, instead of 3 hours to strip this, it took 5. I'm like, okay, depending on your shop rate. I go, well, now you just lost $200. Okay. Now you said, that's what we did early on, and started realizing, oh, that dining table takes 13 to 15 hours to do. All right. It's going to be that many man hours. We charge our shop rate, which here we're about 100, 110, depending on what we're working on, something specialty or not. So it's like, okay, we multiply that. We put that into this little, to this checklist, this template that we had made up. Then we add materials. So then we kind of kept track of how many pieces of sandpaper did we use. All of these things that you want to be religious with it for a while. So you start understanding, you're going to start seeing the same jobs over and over again, similar repairs, similar damage conditions. And yeah, so then you start, after 20 years, I can look at a piece, and I do most of my quotes now over the phone, like emails, pictures. I can get you a price and be within reason, because I go, we've also left that window open to most customers where, hey, once we dive in, I'm going to still leave this at 15 to 18 hours. We don't know. This finish might be poly. It might take an extra hour to remove. We add that. And
it's the same thing as finishing. Give yourself a back door.
Yes.
If you need to redo something.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so we plugged all that into this template, and you add pickup and delivery, all of that, and said all things too. People think, okay, the materials cost is just what it costs. Like, here's $100 of materials, but a lot of people, refinishers, that I know, don't tie in the driving to the paint store or the time there to pick it up. I go, you need to add money into the materials for yourself. 15%, 20%, whatever it is. Like, if you're doing let's say an average dining table will cost us around $200 in materials cost, but we'll charge around $250. For one, we have the materials, we go and buy it. It takes time. It's there's a
you got to pay the bills.
That.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do a 15% G&A, general administrative fee on all materials. Period.
Yep. And that's where I said we get to that point now of you just add that all up. Then that's where we got to. So for the longest time, we would add that up. Here's your total. There's the breakdown. Now with my invoices, now it's just a simple invoice, but then we'll separate labor, materials, pickup, and delivery, because a lot of customers, I think you were talking about too, with a couple from Arizona, you're saying you fill out that invoice, fill it all out. You also do break it down so people see, here's your cost, here's that. Because I go, once we started doing that, people see, instead of seeing a $3,000 refinish and like, oh my God, for this table, like, what's $3,000? Because it's $2,000 in labor. We're about, another $500 for pickup and delivery, $200, just say $200 each direction, and then materials cost. So you're just like, they start seeing the breakdown and realize, okay, we can't change that price, which is materials. We can't change that price, or we could delete that price and we have to deliver the table ourselves, which most people don't have a vehicle to do that. So like I said, we break it down, and it opens up the clarity to
transparency
to the person.
Is
transparency.
huge.
Yeah.
It's all about transparency. I mean, it just gives people an understanding of what they're paying for. And that's all. That's what my history has shown. That's all anybody wants to know. I mean, the reason our trade and the construction trade gets so shat on, for lack of a better term, is because you got contractors that go in and say, oh, I can put a bath, I can redo your kitchen, $130,000. And then homeowners crap themselves because they're like, $130,000. What are you talking about? But when you actually are transparent with the pricing and you show them the breakdown on what it's going to cost, it justifies it. And then there is no question. There is no, can you go cheaper? They see it physically there. I mean, And I was going to circle back on a recommendation that I used to do. And until you said tracking all your hours, before I got into software where I started making my guys track the hours on their jobs at our shop, I had a giant dry erase board, but you can go get the dry erase paint. And I just had lines I did electrical tape lines, and every project had a name or an identification, and you'd write every project down on the board, and hash mark was an hour. If you worked on them an hour, before you went to the next one, you went over there and did a hash mark. And at the end of the project, didn't matter if you had 15 projects in the job, they were all listed on the board. So if you sanded for an hour, and that's usually, you basically rounded everything up to an hour because we don't price in half hours, but you did something on the project, you went over there and gave it a hash mark. Whoever it was, the markers were there. And then at the end, they would have a little form, like you said. They would write down total hours, and then they would turn it in, and we would use that for data. Like Nick Slavic says, there's just nothing better than data to understand your pricing. The more you do bids, actual work, the more you do, the better your pricing model gets.
Well, and I was told this by an old timer construction family friend of mine early on. He was like, what are you getting job wise? I go, I'm getting every single job. He goes, all right, so let me tell you this about business.
Prices.
Like he goes, you're too cheap then if you're getting every single one. I go, huh? I'm like, that's a good thing. He goes, no. Like, now I said, long conversation at that point, but it's like, yeah, you should be getting about 30% of the quotes that you give on average.
I agree.
And this is where I kind of recommend to most people here today is get on social media. Like I said, we'll talk about that here towards the end, but if you want to justify those prices, the higher pricing, $100, $110 an hour instead of 50 or 60, start putting content up, showing people inside your shop, showing them the work that you do. We don't have an issue finding work anymore. Customers show up, we give them a price, and I would say we probably get around 80% of the jobs that we bid now because they find me on social media. They find the work that we do. And I said, and that now, same thing, it just creates transparency. They get to know you and your work before they even walk in the door. Very weird on our end because they know you personally as well. Like I said, they come in knowing you, but I go, it just creates a trust where now I said, I'm just honest with customers. Hey, this looks like it might be an issue. I don't know what's going to be going on as soon as we strip this. Can we just ballpark this until we dive in? And I'm transparent. I'm an honest person when it comes to all of this type of stuff. The being a good contractor, I like having that reputation and not, like I said, not lying to customers and cheating them. And they said they trust you. Where like, oh shoot, Aaron said that he's never seen this before. Okay, he needs to dive into this before he kind of gives us an accurate pricing.
Yeah. Well, and that trust is pre-built because they've watched you on social media. They've seen you in front of the camera. It's a foundation consider it a foundation in the estimating and the sales side. You're creating a bond with that customer before they ever set foot in your store.
100%. You talked about this with Marissa and her husband from Arizona. Like you talked about this a lot on that podcast, and it rang true. It rang true to me on every second of that. I go, yep, that's exactly why we were doing what we're doing. 5 years ago, I didn't know that. That's not what we were doing. We were just trying to put stuff on the internet because I was tired of seeing, girls dancing around in bikinis making money. I'm like, I don't think anyone's going to pay me for that. I go, there may be some people.
I mean, I don't think anybody's paying me for dancing around in a bikini.
Yeah,
if they are,
there's somebody who'll pay for that. Like there's something for everybody, but I go, it's just, I didn't know that was going to be what happened 5 years ago. I just started posting and just showing off our work. I was proud of what we did for a living. I never knew what we did here in the shop was that exciting. I loved coming to work every single day, but until I put it on the internet, I thought I was just my own person. I didn't think that anyone else loved what this trade is. I go, I've been doing it 21 years. I absolutely love what I do for a living, but the internet dictated what else I should do to give back to the community, to help others. And I said, and doing that, I go, we have that template for the checklist, to the estimator checklist. Like I said, I think I have that on my website. I said, people could download that, change it around to how they need to best suit them, print copies, and basically start helping themselves out today and not have to figure out how to make this Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So I know
that can be a pain in the butt. And I was going to hit on something that my father-in-law taught me was, for guys that are starting out, or gals, side hustles, starting out, just understand, don't get frustrated, and understand there is a cost to education. If you bid one wrong and you lose money, don't think of it as a failure. You learned what it took on that one and you adjust and move forward. Like, you're not always going to get it right. Like, one thing about this business that I learned pretty quick, and my father-in-law was a big part of that, was you're not going to win on every job. I don't give two flying flips how good you are at estimating. You will not make money on every project. It's just the nature of the business. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You want to win more than you lose. That's obvious, but don't think that you have to win on every job. And don't, you want to make money. We're in this to make money. But if you're new and you're trying to generate a following, whether it's on social media or just trying to get business in, it's okay to say, hey, Amy, customer one, I think this is going to take 2 days for me to do. I will be firm at that price, but I need you to give me 3 or 4 days to do it. And just tell her up front, say, hey, took me 4 days, but I told you I was only going to do it in 2. 1, you're building a relationship with that customer and you learned a valuable lesson going forward. It's like, not everything is just a loss because you learned, now you know how to refinish, let's call it an end table. Now you know how to finish a dining room table. Just understand that you don't have to win on every project. You can win with education and not necessarily dollars. I mean, after a couple of years, if it's just education, not dollars, you should find something else to do.
Yeah, keep it as a hobby at that point.
Yeah, keep it as a hobby, but I mean, you'll get the groove for it. That's what I wanted to throw.
What
that
was
in
always
there.
taught to me too and it took many years to do, to change this mindset of under promise, over deliver.
Oh yes,
I was the opposite for years. Oh yeah, we could get that done in about a week, knowing I'm 3 weeks out, so I'm already lying to the customer up front. And it said it just was not the place you wanted to be. You turn into a fireman at that point. You're just putting out fires. Who's calling first? You're gonna put that fire out, but by the time you finish that fire, another one starts. They're calling you, expecting the piece, and it's not a way to live. It's not a way to run a business. It's not fun. You're stressing, not sleeping, thinking about this night and day. Where now we come to work, we get to it's relaxed. We get to hop on podcasts. We get to plan our days out efficiently. So that way we still make enough money. We pay all the bills. We make a little bit of profit, and we do things that we love doing, like growing, filming content. Like it's just it's just one of those things where I want everyone to succeed in this, because I did it. I started with nothing when I started this business. My parents loaned me, I think it was about $10,000 to pay the man that I bought the shop. I think they paid 2 months worth of rent, deposits for the electricity and the gas company, and that's it. Like, we started with like zero in the bank. Like, we started negative technically. So it was like we started that, and I was 23 years old. That's my recommendation now, is like, if you are younger, just get started. Do it as a hobby. Start doing it to flip furniture. Do some little things where you start learning. You can even paint stuff. Do it well though. Do it nicely, and that'll just start. There's so many refinishers now that in 2020, when that furniture flipping, painting furniture was a big craze. I said, 80% of these people, men and the women that are all doing it, eventually they're going to start seeing that's going to die out. It's just a trend. They're going to start restoring furniture to the way like that we do things. And it's like time and time again, I'm like, oh man, that girl's doing that one. That's awesome. Like, that looks great. Like times change. Like,
and you just never know where it's going to lead. I mean, look at, Narissa and her husband, Euland, like we were talking about them earlier. They started in furniture flipping, and now they're doing cabinet finishing.
Yeah, that's exactly.
You just never know where it's going to lead. It could go into building furniture. It could go, I mean, once you develop that passion, then you can turn that passion into a business, but you got to nurture the passion. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, what I do with like when I say to a lot of people, just messages or, on like promotions, things along that nature, with the skills that I am, trying to give away here on the communities, like YouTube, all of those things, is you could get into so many different types of businesses. Like you're just saying with Marissa and Euland, is that I don't have to, with these skills, you could be a floor refinisher. You could specialize in staircases. Hey, you only do front doors or garage doors. I got a brand new one just the other day, which I didn't even know was an industry. And this one here solves the problem of solve rich people problems. Like this is the main one. This guy hit me up on Instagram, and he goes on private jets and repairs the high gloss, like the resin shiny mirror finishes inside of private jets. And I go, see, same techniques, same skills. I refinish furniture. We refinish high-end design. We also do grandma's old furniture, like that kind of stuff. I go, there's so many different things that you could do with this. You could be a finisher. You work for a company that does raw wood, cabinets or kitchens. You're just sanding, priming, painting, sanding, staining, finishing. I go, minimal repairs are needed. Like I said, one that I thought about many years ago is, I said, here, I'm giving away free tips for, business ideas, is learn the touch-up skills, the touch-up trade of going in homes, doing repairs.
Oh, yeah. There's good money in touch-ups.
Yeah. Charge, hey, it's a service call fee of, $150 just to come out. And we charge you, it's $150 an hour to do the repairs. So as long as we're here, and I go, you just go day to day with your little, toolbox, you repair stuff in homes. And I go, you make $800 to $1,000 a day if you get it lined up. And go, you'd be living really, really well.
So I had a guy that reminds me of, I see this tip that I have here, knowing when to do the work and when to outsource it. My favorite book, Who Not How. I preach that book as much as I can because I love it. But it's a great advice to, let's say you are a finisher and you have some touch up. You have a guy that does touch up. Like for me, and this kind of full circle goes back around, but it's a big ass squirrel we're going to chase. Was a guy that when I did kitchens, when we were doing a lot of kitchen refinishing, with the utmost passion of anything I can have passion for, is my hatred for installing hinges and door handles
and knobs. Yeah. Hinges. Yep.
Hate it. More than anything, absolutely despise it. I mean, I would just know. People would get mad at me. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Found this guy who worked at a cabinet shop, built cabinets during the day, and then helped in the finished department, a little bit sanding. Ran into him because we were finishing their cabinets. He started a night business. He got off work, and for 3 hours, he just installed hardware for people.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then he's like, man, I kind of want to do this full time. And I was like, well, I think you need to add something to it. So start talking to him. And he's in Oklahoma now. And I said, you should add touch up. He's like, I don't know. I was like, well, come to work for me. So he came to work for me for a little bit. And myself and my other guy, one of my lead guys, taught him touch up, how to use those Mohawk epoxy sticks, the fill sticks. If you're drilling a hole, touch up pins, where to get paint at. How to get rid of blushing and lacquer. We taught him all that. Now he's got 5 guys that work for him, and he owns a business, and all they do is touch up and hardware for half the cabinet builders in Oklahoma.
Find people to do the things you don't want to do. I know I said it's on our notes from that. I go, we just do wood refinishing here. So we do furniture, basic cleanup on like metal. But I go, anything that's upholstered, like needs upholstery, we send it out. We don't do it in-house. Anything that needs caning, we send it out. We don't do it in-house. Metal refinishing. We have a metal refinishers, powder coaters, people that do the things that we don't want to do here. We specialize in furniture restoration, but we just in-house, we do the woodworking. So we just do all the things that we love to do. We're set up for. I don't, like, for one, we can't do it all. We have so much work that we already have here in our shop that I go, I want to help other businesses. Here, I'm going to pass this egg on to you. You're going to make a few $100. Now these people know you, because I go, I don't do things third party in the shop where, hey, I'm going to charge 20% and then take the responsibility for it. I go, hey, I'm going to just connect you with the upholstery guy. I'll drop it off at his shop when we're done. You'll deal with him directly. He'll pay you, or you pay him, and he's responsible for that portion. I had it early on where somebody did a old barber chair, and the upholstery shop put these, it was bright red angels themed. Like, they lived right here in Anaheim, and they put the emblems of the angels in the wrong spots. And I go, they blamed me, but I didn't do the work. So like ever since that day, I go, you know what? I don't even want to be responsible for this stuff anymore.
I agree.
Luckily, it was easy enough for them to move it, and they did do it. Everything was fine. But I go, it was just like I said, that was just that little bad taste in my mouth. I go, I don't like this. I don't want to be responsible for work that I didn't do.
That was me on. I mean, I've learned that lesson a couple of times, but a big one for me was deliveries. We had a box truck, and I had a 20-foot trailer. We'd load up the cabinets. We'd do all the stuff. We'd take them. We'd put them in the house. And it just sucked. I mean, it just was a time suck with the guys. I got guys, their skill set is finishing, sanding, spraying. And I've got them delivering furniture. Just made no sense.
I'll tell you this here. So people will drop stuff off. That's fine. We get a lot of people dropping furniture off. Pickups, I usually say I don't recommend it, because we do repairs and touch-ups in the industry. We get a lot of furniture movers calling us, oh, hey, we damaged this on the way to the house. Can you fix it real quick? Like, I get so many of those, and I go, we've had so many pieces that we've restored. They go to the dealer sells it. It gets destroyed on its way to New York or, wherever, somewhere on the East Coast. And then you're just like, I did all of this hard work to this project. I'm like, I'm not delivering it to New York, but I go, it's because of these reasons. We deliver, I'd say 80% of the furniture ourselves here. Like, yes, it is a time suck. It's like, but we charge for it. Like, we charge the timer out of the shop.
Yeah. I mean, you're also like, I could see, like, in the furniture world, I could definitely see that. A house full of cabinets, when you're hauling in a fridge cabinet that's 9 foot tall, you're like, no, I'm done. Or those full length pantry cabinets. But I mean, but what we did, same thing. I mean, to that point, we went through a couple that sucked bad. And then we found a furniture company, and these guys would come in, never seen anything like it. I mean, they would bring, 1,000 blankets, and they would just wrap every single box in blankets, and then they would carefully load them on the truck. And same thing. I just said, hey, here's my delivery guy. You call him. He'll come by and look at the cabinets. He'll give you a quote for packing them up and bringing them to the house. He'll carry them upstairs. Same thing with the installer. Here's the installer. His guy knows how to install finished cabinets. I usually spend less than 4 hours doing touch up when he installs. This guy over here,
Days.
It might be 2 days. And my touch up is, I tell people all the time, I don't include touch up. It's $75 a man hour for however long it takes to do the touch up, because I have no idea what I'm going to walk into. I just no way to even estimate it.
Yeah. Well, it's another business idea that we'll give away here is we know it just in the industry that there are not many good furniture movers. Okay, maybe you don't want to get into finishing woodworking, but you want to do something. Maybe you like to drive. You want to see the country. Well, start doing that. Start introducing yourself to dealers or stores that ship furniture, and just don't damage it.
Just luxury
like
furniture moving.
Yeah. And I mean, we've even seen it too, dealing with a lot of these art galleries and fine furniture. We'll have art, like museum moving people, damage furniture. And you're like, they are paying you top dollar to not damage anything, and it still gets damaged. Like, I expect this maybe from a random person on UShip or one of those would go, is if you, like, we've had, I think in 15 years, I think I've had maybe 2 oopses on delivery. Like, that's it. I mean, and we've restored thousands of pieces of furniture, and it's like, and I know one of them really wasn't my fault. The lock came undone on, like, it was an old antique table or a display cabinet, and we didn't leave it wrapped up. We unwrapped it to carry it up the stairs. The door swung open. It put a dent in it. We fixed it. So I said, that's one of the two that I remember happening over the last 15 years. And people wonder, like, why, how are we able to do this? And other shippers are damaged the furniture. And I go, because we care. Like, we just put 10, 20, 30 hours of work into this piece. I don't want to damage it.
Yeah,
For one,
no
I don't
kidding.
have the time to come back and fix it because we already have jobs lined up back to back to back. So I'm like, that'll just set back a job if we have to repair it, something we damaged. But I go, it's just, that's exactly it. Then you're behind on the next one. I go, it's just, we take care of furniture. And I go, if there was a shipper out there that reached out to many of these people and they don't damage it, they'd be busier than they know what to do with, hiring more trucks. And, even though I said, we see the big company like Plycon, they ship a lot for First Dibs and all these big websites. And I go, we still see damaged furniture coming from them. So I go, it's annoying.
I mean, the same thing goes to, when I was in the manufacturing side of coatings, we'd go to these shows every year, IWF, AWFS, and you have to have your product there within a certain period. It has to go to a certain place. Otherwise, it's not in the show. If you need to get your booth to the show, you have certain samples, all that stuff. Your window is this day to this day. It can go to this warehouse, but they're very specific and ridiculously priced. But it's all LTL. It's one pallet, two pallet. So unless you have your own truck, LTL is the most unreliable thing in the world. I mean, we ended up, like, my last couple of years there, I was hauling. I mean, I wasn't hauling, but I'd hire a guy, had a broker, and he'd find me a guy with a, give me a panel van. He's going to put this one pallet in his truck, and he's going to deliver it, pick it up at A, and he's going to drop it off at B. There is no middleman. He's going to wait this window. He knows what his delivery window is. I don't give a shit what the price is, because we've done multiple shows where I need this pallet, 2 pallets to go to Vegas for this show. A week in advance, 2 weeks in advance. We get there.
It
Where's our
needs to
pallets?
be there. Yeah.
Call the broker, find out, oh crap, they actually put our pallets on a truck going to New York.
Yeah. Yeah. And then then what do? So there's no ramification for that. It's
none.
It's like lost luggage, like on a plane. Like, it went over here or we forgot it. Well, we can't, like, we'll get it to you eventually, but you're screwed right now. Like, it's just,
there is no repercussion. There's no, there's nothing. Oh, that was frustrating beyond.
Well, same thing there is, under promise. All right. Hey, we're going to have it there on Thursday. You show up on Tuesday. Like, oh, hey, we're a little bit early. I said, it's so many, I'm guilty of it. I'm a people pleaser. I want to be a yes man. Yeah, we could do it. Yes. But I go, I need to be realistic though, too. Like, I don't want to promise something I can't, come through on. So I said, it's like so many people, like, they just want to please the customer. And that's great. But I go, they'll be even more satisfied when you show up early, or in our case here, the job gets done. It's done a week earlier than expected. So I go, that's the thing. I said, if you're 5 weeks out, tell them you're 6 weeks, and then gives you some wiggle room, gives you a little wiggle room. And when you show up early, maybe you show up at 4.5, they are stoked because they feel like that you put them ahead of the schedule. So I go, and it just makes you look better for the next time.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer. We're in on that hour. But the one last thing that I want to do is, make sure you guys, if you're not following Aaron, go follow him. Like I said, all of his social media is going to be in the show notes there, and we're going to get that school link down there for you guys to go check out his free school, and then his community where he gets way more in depth with videos, templates, everything you need to be in this furniture refinishing world and to be successful that he's learned along the way. But we'll get episode 2 on the books for people, and or episode part 2. We'll go deep into the techniques. But one piece of advice you would give to the guys out there getting into this world, getting into the finishing world.
I know we've already given a lot of that, is just start. just plan a goal. Where do you want to go? Just start. I am not a techie person. I didn't know how to use a computer. Like I 5 years ago, you would never figure out how I could hook up microphones, headphones onto a laptop. I'm a woodworker. Like I like building things. I don't care about the technology side of it. As you can tell, we don't use a lot of technology here for restoration. So I said, that's my biggest thing is just get started, and everyone will online, your followers, your people will start dictating what you need to do next. Like 5 years ago, I didn't know I was going to be writing a book or getting into podcasting or, doing all of these, made possible speaking events and all of these things. This has all just happened naturally, and it just feels good. It feels natural to me because it's just it's just progressed gradually. It just one thing led to another. Like you were saying with the stuff that we have set up now, like we got onto YouTube finally after 10 years. People have been telling me to do it for years, and I go, no, I don't have time. Well, earlier in the year, I found out from friends that, what kind of monetization they're doing. I said, how are we going to do this? We figured it out. We started making content. We are now 5 months in, I believe it's like 4.5 months since we started, and we're growing and we're doing really well on YouTube. So I go, it's just something I'm like, man, I wish I would have done this 5 years ago. Same thing. I got started. Now I'm like, that's all I'm thinking about, ideas. I have a notes section full of ideas for YouTube. As we get more followers, as the subscribers, and we start getting more views, I have a lot of really cool ideas of testing tool A versus tool B, or product A versus product B, showing people the difference. And so that way it actually gets seen, it gets the reach on these channels. That's it. So we have the YouTube, that's all free. I just started a free community over on School. That's only about less than a month old now. I think we have already about 16 videos on there that are not on YouTube. We have another paid community, which is where I answer your questions directly. This group is you could buy it as a monthly package or as a year to save money. But I just counted it last night, and I have, I think, over 30 videos on that one that are not on YouTube. So I'm doing a lot of tech videos, advanced techniques, showing you how to use the products, and we're just, this is what we want to do long term, is make content for these channels. The free will always get a little bit less. The paid will get all the advanced pro tips, like everything, into it. And same thing is like, I just don't trust the internet in the sense of, I don't want to put all of this on YouTube. People have asked me that. Why not just get it all on YouTube? I go, I don't want it to get lost in a sea of videos. Now, the YouTube is to drive traffic to these channels, because I go, now we know you're a refinisher. Now we know you're interested in this. We have all the videos, and it said we will have everything eventually. Like we're going to be doing stripping videos, sanding videos, repairing, using the glues like you were talking about. Like I said, we have videos of that already on there now. Finishing techniques, staining techniques. Like I said, that's the goal of every day here is a new episode that we could put on, onto the internet. And that's what I said. We're trying to capitalize on that since we get to do this for a living. A lot of people are influencers or content creators, but maybe they're hobbyists. They're doing it in their garage or a backyard shop. We do this every day for a living, and I said I want to now give back and put that on the internet, so that way you collapse time. You listening to this, it took me 5 to 6 years to learn, quote unquote, everything, and I still didn't know everything, but that was enough to get me going. Well, there's a lot of things that I said with the system that we have in place here, everything that's in the refinishing guide that I had sent you, every step here was formulated over 15, 16 years of refinishing furniture. I said, because I wrote this book a couple years ago, but they said at the time we knew all of these tips and tricks, but now some new products came on the market. Those aren't in the book. There's new tools that came to the market. Everyone knows that purple oscillating or reciprocating tool that we have that we've been showcasing. That's coming to market. Well, that didn't make the book either. So that's why joining these communities, you're going to start seeing new tools, tips, tricks, and techniques that are coming to market that we get to test out and show off for all of you.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited for you, brother. I'm excited to do the second part of this because I want to get into the geeking out over the techniques and stuff, because there's always something to learn there. And again, you guys make sure you go follow Aaron. Brother, I appreciate you coming on. Looking forward to the next one. Make sure you guys are follow, like, subscribe, me, the Bearded Finisher, and Aaron. And we'll see you guys next week.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. We thank everyone for joining. Keep hustling, keep learning, and never settle for anything less than your best. Remember, the path to perfection is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.